Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
I've been going out with a girl, her name is Julie, but last night she said to me when we were watching telly.
The Life Tabernacle Church in Louisiana. Congregation thousands, influence in the state considerable, a message, don't get vaccinated. Pastor Spell estimates fewer than 1% of his churchgoers have been.
Vaccinations keep them alive.
They will not. That has not been proven.
But this is an epidemic of the unvaccinated now in the South.
That is what is being said by politicians, but we don't trust that.
And the people who run the hospitals.
And that is financially motivated.
And those we spoke to before the service began were of like mind.
Have you been vaccinated?
No, sir, I have not.
And will you get vaccinated?
No, sir, I won't.
Why?
Because I don't trust it and I don't know what's in them.
Are you going to get vaccinated?
No.
Why?
I'm not. I don't think there's a need for a vaccination. Like I feel like I'm okay without it.
Someone else who bought into this viewpoint was 22-year-old Josh Bradstreet Contreras. He was a fit, healthy college kid and last Friday, after contracting COVID a week earlier, died. He was unvaccinated. In Louisiana, just 37% of adults have had the jab. Across the state line, that drops to 35%, the lowest in the country. We've just crossed the border from Louisiana into Mississippi, another state where cases are surging, another state where it's impossible to get an intensive care bed. But the Republican governor is refusing to follow government advice that people should wear a mask. Once again, issues of politics have become hopelessly intertwined with matters of public health. And the politics is this. The areas with the lowest vaccine rates are in districts where support for Donald Trump was highest. And in a rewriting of one of America's most famous gun-supporting slogans, these people are defending the right not to bear their arms. But that's resulted in the King's Daughters Hospital in rural Mississippi being inundated like never before with COVID cases. The senior physician is wrung out.
It's pretty dire. We're running out of beds, we're running out of staff, we're even running out of the oxygen means that we give these patients.
We're interrupted by him having to deal with an emergency in intensive care.
We have a patient that is maxed out on life support in the intensive care unit. Despite our best efforts and measures, they're just not getting better.
A couple of hours after we'd stopped filming, we were told that the 68-year-old man had died. He hadn't been vaccinated. John Sopel, BBC News, in the Deep South.
A general knowledge question.
Right.
Sir Walter Raleigh is credited with introducing tobacco to this country. Did you know that?
Yes, I did.
I also introduced something else. What was it, Sir Walter Raleigh?
Bowls.
Thank you very much.
Well...
Just because you don't know the answer, there's no need to be obscene.
I don't know. You'll have to give me a clue.
Sir Walter Raleigh, what else did he bring? If she said a bike, Wally, I'll kill her.
I don't know, but I thought it was the in with the bowls.
Right. OK, first half of the word. Think of your husband's stomach. First syllable, your husband's stomach.
Big?
No. The first syllable of the word. What do you call it when you get a little round belly?
A pot?
Yes, yeah. Wonderful. So we got pot. Right, now the next one's rather difficult. It's a number after 7. Told you all. Told you that was difficult, didn't I, eh? We'll give you time to think, girl.
A pot 8?
Pot 8, yes. And at the end of your feet...
My slippers.
When your slippers are off, what's at the end of your feet?
My toes.
So put them all together, you get?
Pot 8 toes.
Yes. So what are they?
Potty toes.
No, what are they that he brought back?
What are they, what?
What, I mean, the other thing that I introduced to the world. I've just given you. We've got the belly, we've got the one after 7, and we've got the at the end of your feet. Put them together and you get?
Pot 8 toes.
Yes, so what are they? What did he bring back?
Pot Potatoes.
What are they?
I don't know.
You must know what they are.
I don't. When I get my dictionary.
What did he bring back? Tell me.
Potatoes.
Say it fast.
Potatoes.
Yes.
Potatoes.
Say it faster.
Potatoes.
So what are they then?
I don't know.
Hey, Bill, shall we go on?
I've never heard of it.
You never did. Say it slow.
Potatoes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Well, what were they brought back?
I don't know.
You've just told me. Good God, woman, you've just told me.
Potatoes.
Just say it very slow.
Potatoes.
Yes.
Well, I don't know what they are.
Thor is joining us now, not from Asgard, but from Waltham Forest. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Good afternoon to you.
How are you? All right? Good?
I'm all right. Yes, not bad at all. Enjoying the weather.
Okay. And what would you say about the weather and the climate change and what Greta Thunberg said?
Okay, so my big question is, who is Greta Thunberg? She's not a climatologist. She's not a scientist. She's a media event. She's the spokesperson of somebody else, clearly. And for anybody to claim otherwise are merely being disingenuous.
I would say she maybe has not passed the exams to be classed as a climatologist, but I would say she knows as much as many of them do.
I would challenge that completely.
Right, okay.
Absolutely challenge that. And I think it's an 18-year-old who's been proven that when she's asked a direct question, and let's make it clear, she wasn't asked this question and she came out. This is clearly a speech she has rehearsed.
I think she was asked about it, wasn't it? She was asked a direct question.
About it by a placed questioner.
Oh.
I'm an actor by trade. I know what it sounds like. Yeah, I'm a voice actor, so I understand these things. She's clearly learnt a response. She doesn't know. She's an 18-year-old. She doesn't. Oh, she's not a child anymore, so she doesn't have the protection of being, I'm a child, how dare you criticise me? She doesn't know what she's talking about. She's clearly a spokesman, so I want to know who she is.
Look, you're clearly, I wouldn't say angry, but you're clearly a little agitated about this. Why are you getting so wound up by what she says?
Well, I'm getting wound up by the fact that people are running after this child saint who's no longer a child, as if she's an authority. She's not an authority. She's done no research.
But what she said today is actually true, isn't it?
How do you know it's true?
Well, because everyone you spoke to who is qualified...
Everybody you speak to, everybody I know, I'm sure in the LBC office, everybody you know thinks so.
Well,
given the people...
Is she not right saying that we calculate our carbon footprint in a slightly disingenuous way? That we don't include aviation, and we don't include...
How would I know, and how would you know? How would
I don't know. I guess I read a bit.
No, you don't know.
Oh.
No, you don't know, and I don't know either.
All right.
But we're expected to believe the child Messiah because
yeah, but
she's the
you
child
don't.
Messiah.
As an actor, you don't know she's wrong.
I don't know she's wrong, but
Right.
what I'm rejecting is this. We must automatically believe her in her attack on Boris Johnson, who I'm no fan of, by the way.
Right.
But we must automatically believe her because the Messiah has spoken, even though she's not an expert in any way. So what I want to hear from scientists who's telling us this.
Why?
not
Okay,
Greta Thunberg.
Let me come at this from a different angle then. Why is it you think that so many respected scientists, politicians, world leaders do listen to her?
No, I don't think they do.
Of course they do.
No, they don't. Of course they do, and you know, of course they do, because everybody you know says so. No, she's a useful voice.
She goes to climate conferences. She's treated like, royalty.
Yes, she is, because she's such a great media personality. How could you have it better?
There's got to be substance.
A little girl who sticks her tongue out at
No, come on, you're being completely unfair. You're basically saying she's just a cartoon pantomime figure who doesn't know what she's talking about. If she really didn't know, if she was talking total and utter rubbish, do you honestly think that she would have pride of place in front of, I don't know, the whole EU conference in Brussels?
Right. Let's get to this. I realise as soon as I get anywhere, you're going to cut me off.
It's fine. No, I'm not going to cut you off. I'm enjoying your enthusiasm, Thor, and your name.
You're going to cut me off.
Yeah.
The moment I get there, you're going to cut me off. But anyway, let's get to it. So, how does a girl with isn't it strange? Because her parents do the same job I do. They're actors. But they're activists. I'm not an activist, but they're activists. And quite famously, I mean, you can tell by my surname, I'm part Scandinavian, so they're very famous in Sweden.
What's your surname? I've only got you down as Thor.
Halland, Halland.
Okay, fine. Inga Halland, yeah.
Yes, right. So they're quite famous as activists, and isn't this amazing that these activists suddenly have this child who's, she has a strike. Kids do strikes around London all the time. They do all sorts of things. Then magically gets to speak before the UN. How did you get to speak before the UN? Who gets to invite you? How did that happen?
Okay, let me ask you one other question. Is there not a part of you that admires the fact that she wanted to attend a conference in, I think it was the United States, it may have been South America, but she crossed the Atlantic on a sailboat? Does not anything about that make you think, wow, she's different?
That's fabulous. So it gets set up for her to go out over on a sailboat.
Don't you admire her for sticking by her?
Hang on, no, come on.
Come on then.
Don't do a James O'Brien on me.
All right.
Come on, don't be a James O'Brien. Let me speak back.
What's that?
Whatever media event was that, and to have the carbon footprint, she wasn't flying over. However, her crew was all flown back.
All right, let me go back to my original question, Thor. Why are you so agitated about this? Because in the end, does it really matter that much?
Somebody who knows nothing about something is taken as an authority because she was once a child. I was once a child.
Well, I'm not sure it's as simple as that. I think the message that she's giving obviously strikes a chord with people.
Yes, okay.
Look,
she's making a message, and she's a good media person.
All right, listen,
you all twisted around her head.
I'm not closing you down for any other reason, Thor, than it's coming to 3 o'clock. I want to get one other opinion. Okay, happy with that?
Okay, then.
Not closing you down, not shutting you down.
What are the other options available to us?
Social distancing, maintaining good hand hygiene, stuff like that. There are no other real treatment options. Things like dexamethasone works very well, but it only works very well in people who are about to die or real risk of dying. There is news from last week of a monoclonal antibody, but that will be extraordinarily expensive, and it won't be given out to people as an alternative, an alternative of choice anyway, for a vaccine.
And hydroxychloroquine, for example?
Show me it works. I mean, there is zero evidence that it doesn't work.
But
that it does work.
Sure,
it just doesn't.
It's not zero evidence. We have a report from Harvard.
Really, there is zero evidence that it works.
Yale is quite.
And I'm not going up and down this path with you. It doesn't work.
I mean, you said give me evidence. I'm willing to give you the evidence. If you're a scientist, you should address the evidence. Yale University is well respected around the world. Harvey Rich, PhD, professor of epidemiology at Yale, says the evidence of the benefit of HCQ used in high-risk outpatients is extremely strong. So are you saying you don't want to see the evidence, or you don't want to believe the evidence?
It's not what I want to believe or what I don't want to believe, thanks. It's what I do or don't believe. And appeals to academic seniority like that are really poor science.
Interesting. Okay, so what about ivermectin?
Ivermectin, again, even the manufacturers say it doesn't work.
But again, we've seen high cases of this working very well in developing countries, but also in Japan, lots and lots of evidence of it working there. I'm interested to hear why every time I speak to you, you say there's no evidence of this working, but when we show you evidence, you seem to not want to take it on board. Is it a case that you don't believe?
Every time? You mean the one time you've spoken to me? No. The general consensus of opinion, and it's not just me, is that this doesn't work.
Organise is for, under his own steam, getting him, his staff and the animals to Kabul airport, getting them through all the security checks, getting them through the throng of people onto the tarmac, into the plane, without the help of British military?
Well, whether he can or whether he can't, I mean, that is whether he's going to be able to. But personally, I agree. And you can't, you're so dismissive by saying, oh, it's just cats and dogs and donkeys. I mean, that is completely unfair. A life is a life. And some people say they're animal lovers. Some people say they're animal lovers, but yet they still think like a human life is more important than an animal's life. I don't feel that way.
Well, I find that extraordinary. I do think a human life is worth more than an animal life.
I don't.
That's why
That's
why we're trying to get people out of Afghanistan, out of Kabul, who would otherwise have their throats
save
slit
the
by the
people,
Taliban, rather than
you know,
a cat.
a life is a life, and I do not put a human life above an animal's life. I adore animals. Animals have saved me many, many, many times where humans have let me down, and I would never sacrifice my animals. Let those animals come here. They have every right, and we have to look after them. And there was something else I wanted to say, actually, but I can't actually remember.
I'll let you think about it, Queenie, because I really, you've done a great job, by the way, as a first-time caller. You've no need to be nervous.
Yeah, but I feel so strongly about
I know
this.
you do. I know you do. Let me
I love the animals, and bring those animals home.
Can I just say...
I wanted to say as well, can I say one other thing? I wanted to say, all those people that have actually come on those planes and been brought to safety, you cannot tell me that all of those people were all the people who were working with the forces. They weren't all the interpreters and everybody else. A lot of those people are just like ordinary people that have managed to come to safety.
So
Is that correct?
Well, so what?
No, because people are still saying, we have to bring the interpreters. Of course we have to do. Well, of course we do. But are you telling me that all those thousands and thousands of people are all still the interpreters and the people who worked with the forces?
Some of them are, yes. Thanks, Fred.
Not all of them.
Well, but Queenie, what's your point? Are you saying, well, if they're not an interpreter, let's get a dog on?
Do you want the honest answer?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello, good afternoon. All that to come. But first, the Education Secretary is under fire this afternoon after mistaking the England rugby player Maro Itoje for the England footballer Marcus Rashford. Gavin Williamson got into trouble when he told the Evening Standard that he had met Mr. Rashford online. Well, he told the newspaper, "We met over Zoom and he seemed incredibly engaged, compassionate and charming. But then he had to shoot off. I didn't want to be the one that was holding him back from his training." However, the Evening Standard's journalist, Susanna Butter, then clarified, saying later on, Williamson's team tell me he's actually met the rugby player Maro Itoje, who campaigned to bridge the digital divide, not Rashford. She also said Rashford's spokesperson confirmed he and the Education Secretary had never spoken directly.
So what has happened here clearly is that Mr. Williamson has blundered. He has mixed up two high-profile sportsmen who are also very successful and high-profile political campaigners. Marcus Rashford on school meals, education, and Maro Itoje, who is a top England rugby player, played with the Lions in the tour that's just finished a few weeks ago. Tipped as that's him in his Lions shirt, tipped as a future England rugby captain. Marcus Rashford, of course, plays for Manchester United and is an England international. He's currently injured. Well, the two sportsmen, whilst the politicians are getting very hot under the collar about it, the two sportsmen seem to find the whole thing slightly amusing. This was a tweet from Marcus Rashford responding to a journalist's tweet. There it is. Accent could have been a giveaway. He has tweeted, and the rugby player Maro Itoje has also tweeted in the last few minutes. He has said this. Due to recent speculation, I thought it was necessary to confirm I am not Marcus Rashford. While we are here, my name is not Mario either, and a simple Maro Itoje will do. Much love, Maro. So he's obviously seen the funny side of it.
Williamson doesn't seem to be able to tell the difference between Maro Itoje and Marcus Rashford. Is he racist or incompetent?
You'll forgive me saying I again have probably seen no more of this than what you have seen.
Well,
I
what
know
more
that
do you? He's mixed
explained...
up two prominent English black sportsmen. He's got them the wrong way round. I repeat my question: is this through incompetence or racism, Minister?
Honestly, I don't know. All I know is that Gavin has.
So it could be racism.
He's put out his explanation, and there's really nothing more that I can say about it.
So it could be racism.
I can't believe for a moment that he is. I think that sounds highly unlikely, and I think
So he's
I think that's probably,
so it's incompetent.
No, I think that's no. I think it's a.
It's got to be one or the other,
really,
hasn't it?
No, it's not
well,
necessarily one or the other.
Oh, come on.
No. You've given me a false choice. That you're trying to put me in a trap to say that there's one thing or the other.
As if I try and do that all the years we've known each other.
As if a journalist would try and trap a politician.
Nonsense.
I don't accept the choice that you've offered me there. What I'll say is Gavin has said what's happened. There's not a lot more I can say.
I really enjoy these debates.
It's not really a debate today.
Sorry, say that again.
It's not really a debate today. It's just a list of lived experiences from people that have been through something similar.
And I appreciate that. And I have enormous respect for, I think it's Deborah and what she's been through. And I'm really sorry she's experienced that. And I do believe there are many different situations that can occur. However, just focusing on the Gavin Williamson one, I'm really upset that this has been swung straight in the direction of racism.
Well, even though we've said several times, I don't think this is an example of racism.
No, and I don't think it is, and that's kind of the point that I just wanted to make. You know, I'm a 33-year-old white, normal, professional bloke.
I think we could have worked that out, Oliver. I mean, I did start the show by saying there's not really that much point asking white men whether or not the treatment of a black person is racist, is there?
Well, look, what I'd like to say is that, you know, I have done a, you know, if you were to take a pub quiz, for example, and there's often they'll give you an A4 sheet of paper with pictures of celebrities or pictures of anyone on, and you've got to guess their names. And I'll tell you now, I'm not into sport, I'm not into music, and if I saw a picture of Rebecca Adlington, I could quite easily guess that it was Ellie Goulding.
Yes.
And I just think that the poor man made a slip
But
up.
if you were Secretary of State for Education and you were asked whether you'd actually met a person who is at least as prominent for his campaigning in the field of school children as he is for his antics on a football pitch, I think even perhaps some people listening now would think that comparing that to a pub quiz is not probably something you'd do if the Secretary of State for Education had got, Gary Lineker mixed up with Tyson Fury, for example.
Absolutely, and I totally respect that. However,
but that's never going to happen, is it? He's never going to get Gary Lineker confused with Tyson Fury. Why do you think that is?
No, but my point is that any
Just answer
similar
the question, mate,
physical or personality trait, and that doesn't need to be race, that could be hair colour, it could be a tone of voice.
Yeah, well, Gary Lineker and Tyson Fury are the same colour.
Sorry?
Gary Lineker and Tyson Fury are the same colour.
But it could be anything.
So why would he never get them mixed up?
When they're put on the spot, and as you quite rightly said, I think it can happen to the best of us, and to immediately slip into, you know, it's disgusting because it's racing. What it is disgusting.
You're the only one to use the word disgusting, mate.
Okay, I've used the word disgusting, but it's...
no one else has, and you said you were angry, and now you're using words that no one else has used to describe what you're angry about. I wonder what you're really angry about. Should we try and work it out?
It was a caller, and I can't remember. It's probably 3 or 4 callers
about black people complaining about how they've been treated, maybe.
No, there was 3 or 4 callers ago. There was a gentleman who had quite a strong stance that he could only put it down to racism, specifically in relation to the Gavin Williamson.
No, specifically in relation to black people routinely being mixed up with each other.
Right, apologies. Or maybe I'm taking...
But why would that make you angry? Angry is an odd word to use.
No, it was a Gavin Williamson scenario specifically.
Why would you even get angry on his behalf?
It made me upset.
Okay.
It made me more upset because I just think that...
It's too much talk about racism.
Well, no, I respect the fact that racism does occur, and
Why upset then? Why upset today, do you think?
Because I think it's it's an unnecessary, quick... you know, why are we even debating this? We're debating
because of Deborah's grandson.
No, we're debating it because of the Gavin Williamson comment.
No. My decision to have this conversation is built upon the suspicion that it spoke of a much deeper and more important issue than one gaffe and slip by a legendarily appalling politician. That's why we're having this conversation. I'm really struck by the use of your vocabulary here, angry and upset, and I can't quite work out why that would be.
I just think that there are many cases where and apologies, maybe this isn't directly related to the topic that you brought the debate you raised a debate on, but I just think that there are so many cases where actually innocent things happen, slips of tongue or whatever, that actually
It's not,
don't
though, is it?
necessarily...
It's not an innocent slip of the tongue, is it? He's been asked whether he's met Marcus Rashford, and he said yes, because he thought that Maro Itoje was Marcus Rashford. That's not an innocent slip of the tongue. An innocent slip of the tongue would be me calling you John when your name is Oliver.
Yeah, but do you know what I think? So why would it be, apart from the fact, take out the fact that Marcus Rashford has had some great campaigns
you can't,
in relation
not when you're the Secretary of State for Education. You can't take that out of the conversation. That is what exacerbates and amplifies the error. The fact that the single most important campaigner in the context of school children that we've seen in this country, probably since Jamie Oliver, and he gets, would he get Jamie Oliver mixed up with Gordon Ramsay? Not even Gordon Ramsay. He'd have to get Jamie Oliver mixed up with, I don't know, Ant McPartlin for this to be a parallel.
I don't know. I think that's a bit extreme. But I think
how can that be extreme if mixing up Marcus Rashford and Maro Itoje is just an innocent slip of the tongue? Why would mixing up Jamie Oliver with Ant McPartlin be extreme, Oliver?
As I said to you, James, I'm not for 1 minute saying that it's acceptable that he didn't know who Marcus Rashford was.
He does know who Marcus Rashford is.
He must do, absolutely.
Yes, exactly. So that's not what we're talking about either.
But in terms of making a slip-up, and then that slip-up being blamed on, being put down to racism, I just
mixing
think
up two black men. Mixing up two black men has been described as racism.
He could have equally mixed up two white men, as I bring right back.
But when I gave you an example of two white men, you said that was a bit extreme, as if that could never happen.
Well, I feel like you tried to choose, I don't know, two people where there was, Ant McPartlin and
go on, Jamie Oliver.
And Jamie Oliver. As I said to you right at the start,
two people that what?
I could quite easily mix up.
Hang on, I tried to choose two people that what? That don't look remotely similar.
Well, absolutely.
Well, go and have a look. Go and have a look at a picture of Maro and Marcus, and call me back.
Okay. Do you understand what I'm saying, or do you?
I understand exactly what you're saying, Oliver. I think it's you that doesn't.
Hussain's in Dagenham this evening. Hi, Hussain.
Oh, Tom, I'm really, really sorry. This is twice I'm come to the radio. This is the first time I was cut off. I'm very shocked about what happened today. Is you don't know the next target will be the leftover, the last plane will be attacked by this organization. They will put the blame on the KIS. This is not acceptable. Do not trust this proxy group. Do not trust this Taliban at all. The British government can play very good rules, and this to extend it very nicely, very calmly, to respect for the citizens of Britain or American or whatever is around the world. We don't accept the timetable in Afghanistan. The timetable is not acceptable for these people, which they not have a single leadership to talk straight away one word. If the leadership say one thing on the radio, on the ground is something else. They're saying, do we forgive everybody? In the night time, they take out the people, they're torturing, they're killing, and they're calling the family, come take your dead body from the street. Why the British government not putting a political pressures on them to stop this violence on the road? They should stop it for 1 week, make everything calm, and then they go calmly, relaxedly, they send airplanes. One by one, they have to evacuate the citizens from the country. Why they scared from the timetable of the Taliban? Who are they? Who are this terrorist organization?
Hussain, the timetable was agreed between the Taliban and the United States, with Trump pushed back by Biden.
Listen, Tom, listen. Do not accept the timetable agreed with this proxy group. They are not one person. This is the Pakistan behind it. Why you give him respect for the timetable? When did respect for the timetable for the rest of the world? If they say one thing on the radio, tomorrow they're torturing people on the street. Why you scared about this one? Who are they? You put them. Britain accept this one. American accept this one. Why they are scared from the timetable? Listen for them. They put it another 1 month. They take out every single citizen very calmly, relaxedly. Why you scared from these people? Who are they? You give him the powers You give him to above the all the citizens. We have 37 million population over there. Why we want to hand up ourselves for these people? Why America go atom bomb? Put one atom bomb, kill it, all of them.
No, I
Together,
don't
we have to.
Hussein,
the world become relaxed.
Listen, Hussein, I think that is, obviously not going to happen and deeply offensive and upsetting. So no one's going to be dropping any atom bombs on Afghanistan anytime soon. Linda's in Berkhamsted in Hertfordshire. Hi, Linda.
Hi, Tom. I've just got to say that the way you're talking about animals is not acceptable. They're not pets. For the majority of people in this country and other countries, they're companions, so we don't class our animals as pets. They're not something that you just say beg and you give it a biscuit. To treat animals the way you're talking about them as if they don't matter is not acceptable. And what I'd like to say, you may not agree, Tom, with what other people think. You're entitled to your opinion, and so are we. We want to see those dogs and cats out. Do you know that what the Taliban do to dogs, they cut their noses off while they're alive because they hate them?
Horrific.
So why
what do
are
the
you
Chinese
treating
do?
animals? No, listen.
What do the Chinese
because
do
I'm
to
sick
dogs?
of listening to you tutting under your breath when people talk about the need for animals. They have a heart. If you look at rescues over here and you see what people do, you've upset so many people by taking that attitude. You're entitled to feel what you want, but so are we. And them sitting in a cargo for safe journey out of there is not where you're going to put people.
It's not
so
the
why
point.
you're making such a big deal?
It's not the point, because it's not the point.
Happening.
It's not the point.
No, you're missing the point. You're missing the point, and you're not any better than any of us.
I'm not suggesting
you may have
I
worked
am.
for Theresa May, but that doesn't make you a politician. Have a go at Boris. Get him on the line, or Dominic. Get them on the line. This is not about the animals. The animals can't have a say. This man has gone out his way, and I've helped with the money as well. And I've helped with Afghanistan with the money. I wish we could bring everyone out, but we can't. And it's not our fault. It's the politicians who didn't have the balls to stand up to the Taliban. So don't keep saying about animals that they're not as worthy as humans, because they are. And if you look at Noah's Ark and if you look at God, he created the animals. And the one who walked by God's side was a dog. So please have a bit of respect for all life, not just people. We can't do anything. We've all done our best. We're all crying. We're all upset at what's going on, but we don't have the power. The power sits in number 10. Start having a go at those people, not the dogs and cats that are coming, trying to get out of country and have a life and not have their noses spliced off their faces.
What about the... Oh, I can't even... Linda, thank you for the call. I hope you feel you've had your say. I completely, from the pits of my stomach to the tips of my fingers, disagree with you. Thank you for calling.
Are you ready for a nice, simple question?
Yes, make it simple, Bob.
Well, between you and me, it's going to be very simple. All right.
Yeah?
Lillian, can you tell me, for what is the city of Pisa famed? Pisa.
Pisa famed?
Yes. It's famous for something. Now then.
Can you give me a clue, Bob?
Can I give you a clue?
Yeah.
Now then, let me see. How can we best put this then? I don't know. I had an inclination that you'd have got this one. Have you ever heard of Pisa?
No, I haven't.
You've never heard of Pisa?
No.
Let's start more simply. Have you ever heard of Italy?
Italy? Yes, I've heard of Italy, yes.
Yeah, you've heard of Italy. Good. Well, that's a good beginning. Now then, Lillian, in the country of Italy, which is not that very, very far away, there is a very nice city called Pisa.
Yeah?
Pisa. Right?
Yeah.
Once upon a time, some people did build something there in this fair city of Pisa. It was supposed to be straight up. Straight up it was. In fact, it isn't.
I don't know.
No. They built a fine edifice, nay building.
Not Rome, is it?
Pardon?
Rome?
No, it isn't Rome, actually. No. It's a thing. It is a building.
A building?
Ah, now you're getting to it, aren't you?
Oh, no, it's very difficult.
It is, I'm afraid, yes. Let me think. How better can we... Look, Where are you at the moment? I mean, are you sitting down? Are you lying on your bed? Are you...
I'm just sitting down
You're just sitting
on the end of the bed, you know.
Ah, you know. Look, listen, Lillian, supposing you were to stand up, just for a moment.
Yeah.
Right. Put out one arm.
Yeah.
Press it against the wall.
Press it against the wall?
Just the one arm, you know. It'll do no damage, I promise you.
Oh.
It's a painless exercise, this. Now then.
Painless exercise.
Yeah. Now, what would you say you are doing against the wall?
Leaning.
Ah, now then. Now then. Are we getting to something famous in the city of Pisa? Leaning. Leaning. No?
No, Bob, I'm sorry, look, you know.
Have you ever heard... Listen, there's a thing in Blackpool.
Yeah.
Now then, what's the most famous building in Blackpool?
Tower.
Ah, now, let's put those two words together, shall we?
Yeah.
Now then. And it's in Pisa. Yeah.
Not the...
Go on, go on.
Not the Tower of Pisa, isn't it?
It is the Tower of Pisa.
Oh, is it?
Lillian, you're playing a blinder, love.
Nick in Brighton. Morning, Nick.
Good morning, mate.
Hi, Nick.
Yeah, as far as the attack's concerned, I mean, we knew that was going to happen the moment Biden pulled out soldiers deploy. I don't know what he was thinking. It makes absolutely no sense at all. And I get why people weren't leaving earlier, because they thought that they had a 70,000 strong army to support them. Unfortunately, they didn't know, what was really going on in the background, which was the undermining of their army, and the fact that they also believed in our governments when they said, "Oh, there's no way, Kabul will fall, etc., etc. This is what we've done, and we're so great, blah blah blah." But what I think we need to do now is I think we need to get every country in the world on board who has any form of sort of ethics left, any kind of morals, left in the fibre of their ethos, and we need to flood Afghanistan with troops. And I mean flood it with troops. So many troops that there wouldn't be a fight. It would
suicide mission. It'd be a suicide mission now, Nick. We know the Taliban can fight. We've just seen the worst and most lucid demonstration of that.
Well, no, because the Taliban didn't fight their way in. They talked their way in.
The Taliban absolutely can. They are tenacious.
They can fight. I mean,
now if we go in, or if you send troops in the way that you describe, they will fight.
Yeah, but if you send in enough troops, and from every country in the world, that you are literally flooding it from every conceivable angle, that it makes it absolutely pointless to try and fight, on the caveat that they're not actually there to fight. They're there to ensure that we get everybody out of Afghanistan who doesn't want to be there anymore.
But you've got China on the verge of recognising the Taliban as a legitimate government, which they didn't do.
Oh, they want the lithium. They'll do anything they want.
So I can't imagine that they're going to get on board with this idea. Russia as well, maybe for similar reasons.
We don't need Russia, and we don't need China.
Yeah, but it's not just about saying that they would stay neutral in such a conflict. Do you not see the risk that they would end up on the other side? And so you'd end up with a coalition of the willing on one side, China and possibly Russia on the other, and World War III's round the corner.
But again, Russia and China don't want a war. All they want are the minerals.
But they would certainly be defending Afghanistan from the coalition that you described.
They want to defend Afghanistan, but let's not forget Russia were already thrown out of Afghanistan themselves in the 80s.
Well, a different Russia, and with the help of the West at the time.
Yeah. When I say, we need to flood the place, the whole point of flooding the place with soldiers is so that there isn't fighting. There needs to be so many, and then the basic story is, look, I'm sorry, but this can't happen. We're coming in, we're taking out everybody who wants to leave, everyone who's our citizens, etc. We're pulling them out. Stand down. Put your arms down. You can have your country back.
Right, but that could only be done with force. You can't. You couldn't persuade the Taliban to do that.
Well, I know, but you can let them know in no uncertain terms that, look, this is what's coming in. You don't need. But
they would say no. They would say bring it on. They would fight. I'm convinced that they would fight. Why would they not? They're not, after hiding out for 20 years and waiting for their grand return, which they appear to have effected in the most extraordinarily quick way, they're not just going to go, okay, right, well, the threat of violence is going to dissuade us. We're going to down tools and let this new coalition come in and take away that which we've won after 20 years of hiding out. I just don't think that's realistic, to be honest. Nick, thank you. In Brighton, I do share your desire, ultimately, for the Taliban not to be in power, though. We can agree on that.
Gather in front of the TV set for this Take This, everyone. Tonight, the American Academy of Pediatrics warning of an exponential rise in COVID cases among children. More than 200,000 children testing positive in the U.S. last week alone. That's 5 times more than just a month ago. So why are people fighting against basic steps to keep kids safe, like masks in schools? We showed you this last night. A fistfight outside of a school board meeting for Lee County schools in Florida after the district announced a new mask mandate.
So as you can see, fists are now flying. All of this on live television. Fists are flying. Unbelievable what we are seeing here today.
Okay, and if that wasn't wild enough, now we have got the tape of what went on inside that meeting.
I'm going to tell you that your time is up. The people of the state and this district are rising up, and you have awakened a sleeping beast.
Maybe the reason why we have people in the hospitals all this mask wearing. Did we ever think of that? Did we ever think of that?
Putting a mask on those children is robbing them of their education. You are robbing these kids of their developmental rights in terms of education. Are you educators? Don't you know that?
I want to talk about the real pandemic, child sex trafficking. By putting masks on these kids' face, you can't identify any of them.
They don't care about your children. As a matter of fact, they hate them. They hate your kids. They hate my kids. They hate your kids. They hate my kids. Get it?
99.9 live through this flu, especially the kids, and the data proves that too. Science and laws shouldn't be changing so fast. Has Nuremberg taught us nothing of medical tyranny in the past?
Unfortunately, this is the first time the Holocaust has been invoked in the mask debate. And no to anyone trying to make that argument. The comparison does not work, and those statements should not be made. Conspiracy theories and personal attacks will not slow the spread of COVID. But we know that masks do. And schools need them if kids have any shot at a normal school year. But these people are fighting against that. Even though Florida's already got more than 26,000 students and staff testing positive for COVID, more than 45,000 students and staff quarantining. And let me remind you that Florida is one of the 5 states with less than 10% ICU capacity remaining because of the Delta surge. But is that what the governor is worried about? No. His education department is penalizing 2 school districts for their mask mandates, withholding funds until they get rid of those mandates. All this leaving children in the middle.
Was the live feed that's typically done for these events is down. Did you know that? No one can seem to find it. Why would that be? By accident, of course, we know that. I mean, seriously, we know sunlight is a great disinfectant, and we know when stuff like this is brought to light, it will get fizzled out and die. And I know that's what you're trying to hide here, but I have never been to one of these before, but I will be back.
George is in Worcester. George, what's going on?
Hi, I was just wanting to say that if people are still wearing a mask on a public transport and other people aren't, if you're wearing a mask, don't you feel protective enough? That it doesn't have to be, it's everybody's own personal opinion, and if the government are saying that you don't have to wear one, but you're still choosing to do it...
The government have said that you should wear a mask in crowded spaces.
I mean, but they're not enforcing it, are they? They're saying that you should, but then...
Why do you think? Why would that be then? If they think that you should, which recognises the efficacy of the public health policy, why would they stop enforcing it?
Because it's too hard to enforce, maybe?
Well, if we could give up on things because it's too hard to do, we wouldn't try to do anything, would we? So doing social care policies has proven really hard, but they're having a crack at that today. Why do you think because this might be, and it may not be your intention when you rang in, but it might be part of the answer to the question about why the Tories aren't wearing them, despite the fact that the government advises that they should?
That I can't answer.
But isn't it the same principle? Because you know you're supposed to wear one, but the government have given you permission not to. Why would you not want to wear one when the people in charge are, and of course most of the science and most of the research suggests that look, the very, very, very worst thing that could happen here is that they turn out not to have made a very big difference. Most people now believe that they do make a big difference. Why would you not want to wear one?
The only way I can explain this is I was watching an interview with Piers Morgan, and he was talking to an expert, and he was saying about how in China, where they've wore masks just for years, if you look at flu rates compared to every other country, they have the same infection rate. So if they're wearing masks but they can still get infected with a virus, wouldn't you say that those masks aren't very effective?
No, they don't. People don't walk around in masks all the time in China, though, George. I mean, I didn't see the interview, but the countries that adopted mask mandates earliest, and I mean, the figures here aren't a matter of opinion, they're a matter of record, have had by far the lowest number of COVID deaths. So no mask in the absence of vaccination is going to be able to eradicate a virus. But that interview presumably was several months ago, and it's possible either that you're misremembering it or that the science has shifted since. So let's confine ourselves to the country in which we live, where the advice from the medical professionals is that masks help. Why then would you not want to wear one? Well, what is it that's, because I can see, it's a bit of a pain in the hole, but then you think, I might help keep somebody healthy, or I might help keep somebody else alive, even if you don't care about your own health. What's this impetus? What's this motivation to chuck it away?
Well, this another thing that I'd like to point out is
if you would just answer the question that I asked you, I'd be really grateful.
Me personally, I've always worn them when they were asked to, in the sense that it was mandatory. But as soon as I've got my own freedom, I'm going to. I feel like if the majority of the population are vaccinated, and this vaccine is going to take us out of this pandemic, then why do we have to wear masks?
Well, you know why, surely, because you just vaccinated people can still get it. The more people get it, the more likely there are to be new variants, and of course we're only now beginning to recognise the full scale of how bad long COVID may be. 41,000, we had the highest number of new cases in the world yesterday, and you're on national radio saying people can't catch it anymore, so I don't need to wear a mask.
No, I'm not saying that they can't catch it anymore.
What are you saying?
The whole rhetoric of we're going to wear masks until a vaccine comes out, and then a vaccine comes out.
No. We had the highest number of new cases in the world yesterday, and we remain quite good on the vaccine front. So where is your logic here?
The only way I can answer that question is the fact that Israel have basically better vaccinated than us, and they've been much stricter lockdown rules. Yet
Israel's fallen behind us now on the vaccination, actually.
Have they?
I did say let's confine ourselves to the country that we live in. You've taken me to China. You've taken me to Israel. I'm telling you that the country you live in has the highest number of new cases in the world. You seemed to recognise when it was mandatory that wearing masks helps keep infection rates down. Everybody accepts that. So where's your logic? If we've got the highest number of cases in the world and you think now's the time to stop wearing it, I'm just curious. There's a sort of connection here that I can't quite make.
One of my logics is, how about all of the protests down in London?
Can I just steer you back to the question that I've asked? If we've got the highest number of new cases in the world, how can it be a good time to stop doing something that reduces the likelihood?
Logically, it's not, is it?
Well, it's what you're doing, though.
But me personally, I live on my own. If I go into town, it's late at night. I'm not very socialising. So to me,
well, that's sad. I'm sorry to hear that. But you wore it when It was mandatory, so you recognise that it was the right thing to do. I'm just, because you mentioned all the vaccines, you didn't mention your social life. You talked about how the vaccine backdrop and how all of that rhetoric had changed the picture. I keep coming back to this fact that, I mean, even if it was last week, we'd have been 5th or 4th. We've got the highest number of new cases in the world, and you're here to tell me that now is the time to stop wearing masks. Whose fault is that, do you think? Who's fed you that ludicrous line? And in many ways, and this might sound unkind, but I'm keen to know, how have you... No, I know, I'm just saying, how have you ended up thinking that the country with the highest number of new cases in the world is a country where people should stop wearing masks?
It's a personal choice, I feel.
No, but how have you ended up thinking it?
How have I ended up
We've got the highest number of new
because
cases in the world, and you think now's the time to stop wearing a mask. That hasn't just sort of arrived uninvited in your head. It's been put there, hasn't it? How can anyone have ended up thinking, highest number of new cases in the world, let's stop doing things that reduce the number of new cases? Who's done this to you?
I would say the handling of the pandemic itself. At the beginning of it, we were like the only country that didn't shut our borders.
We weren't, though.
The government basically...
No, we weren't, though. That bit's not true, so that can't be the answer to the question.
No, we were one of the last countries to close our borders.
No, you didn't say that. You said we were the only country that didn't close our borders. Lots of countries haven't closed their borders. So the question is not about 18 months ago. The question is literally about today, George. Literally today, Tuesday. Highest number of new cases in the world yesterday, and you think now's the time to stop wearing masks. Just knit those 2 points together for me if you can.
I can't.
I know. But here you are.
No.
Wear your mask, mate.
I wear a buff, if anything.
Well,
and
just wear a mask. Wear a mask, mate.
But no. A buff is like sort of like a bit of cloth that goes over my face and things.
Okay, George. You take care of yourself, yeah?
And yourself.
There you go. It's 12:18.
Hi, good morning. I'm actually calling. I think it's obviously a very admirable cause. My concern is that when you start to put any cause above people's well-being and life, essentially, you know, when you think of people missing doctor's appointments or a surgeon not being able to operate on cancer patients, those people could essentially lose their life. So,
as opposed to, I mean, we've been over this a few times, as opposed to millions and millions of people losing their life. People who aren't even ill, people who are going to die because of the air that they're breathing or the seas that are rising. No, I'm not playing God. I'm just counting, Chloe. Let me run something by you, okay? So you mentioned cancer. I understand why. It's in the toolbox of lazy emotional triggers. It's an incredibly powerful thing, and occasionally it will be true. We must all be respectful of that fact. So let's pretend someone you love has got cancer, right?
Okay, I don't need to pretend, but carry on.
Okay, and they're reading a newspaper that tells them chemotherapy is a joke. And the medicine that the oncologist is insisting that they take is a hoax. And they don't need to take it. And that isn't just something that they're getting off their Auntie Doris's Facebook page. They're getting that off the telly. They're getting it off the radio. They're getting it in every newspaper they ever open. They've got blogs coming out of their ears. You know, because the doctors have told you that your loved one has to get treatment tomorrow. If they get treatment tomorrow, there's a possibility they'll survive, and there is a probability they'll live a hell of a lot longer than they would if they didn't get that treatment. What are you going to do to that person to persuade them to take the treatment that the doctors recommend?
James, I think we're talking about, I know this is the topic that you want to talk about. You don't need to convince me. It is an essentially...
No, we're talking about tactics, not the top. What are you going to do to persuade that person you love?
Well, I'm not going to kill somebody else.
What are you going to do to persuade them?
It's not my right to kill somebody else.
But no one's killing anybody else. You're doing a theoretical...
If someone misses their surgery... How are you to say that those days, that extended time they have to wait for the surgery isn't going to kill them?
I'll tell you why, Chloe. I'll tell you why, and I think you understand this, but I'll indulge you. In my analogy, your loved one is the entire species. So your argument is, well, I'm certainly not going to risk one life to save 60 billion.
But you're saying you're...
And that's just silly. That's just silly. So the analogy is... The loved one...
Never be a cause. Think of it. If this was a different cause, if this was any other cause...
But it isn't, is it? It's the future of the species.
So you line up 100 people over there, and you say, right, all of those people are going to die, but I can kill this one.
No, because the protests that you're upset about stop when the leadership addresses the issue with the urgency that it demands. So you're calling for the protesters to stop instead of calling for the leadership to improve.
But again, all the time.
So who causes the problems? No, don't talk about me. This is about the planet. What are you going to do to persuade?
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the other callers that call in, the protesters that call in. They absolutely don't care. It's absolutely callous how they do not care.
But we've already established that they're trying to save.
Nowadays.
They're trying to save everybody.
But then when asked, well, what would you like the government to do? They don't say we need to do this, and
this. They do. This latest campaign very specifically.
Well, what would you like them to do?
Well, they've told you, Chloe. No, you're just running through all the tropes from the Daily Mail hit list. They've literally this time they have literally said we want every insulatable building in the country to be insulated. It's a clear and achievable goal.
Okay, but James, at what point? Is it ever okay to say, I will kill this person?
Show me the one that said that, Chloe, and I'll talk to them. No, show me the one that has... Again, you reach for this very emotional trope. It's very powerful, but nobody has said, I'm going to kill someone. You can keep talking, but you're not...
When asked if they... people had to... the cancer surgeon couldn't get to the surgery. He said, that's unfortunate. Well, no, that's not unfortunate, because it wasn't down to that. It was down to you that he missed that, and down to you that I don't know how
Arguably it wasn't, but we've spent, goodness knows, I couldn't have done a longer monologue explaining the technique of taking one very, very emotional example and somehow using it to pretend
it's not
that
an example. It's
I'm sorry, it is an example. It isn't
in your blurb at the beginning, you said, is it more important... okay, a couple of thousand lives today sort of thing, as opposed to, billions down the road. Yes, this is essential. Climate change.
So what would
is
you
essential.
do, Chloe?
We don't need to have that argument.
What would you do? What would you do? Just tell me what you would do instead of what they're doing.
No, that is a fantastic question. I wish I knew the answer to that, but that's not.
You have to have at least some answer to it. No, I'm afraid that's the question I'm going to. You're not answering any of my questions. You're repeating all the stuff I can read in any right-wing newspaper in the country. What would you do differently? What would you do differently?
I'm going to take your life.
No one is saying. But why are you lying?
They are saying that.
Okay, so show me the person who said I'm going to kill someone to make my point.
Okay, when you miss your cancer surgery. When you miss your cancer surgery...
That's not what you're saying, is it?
That's unfortunate.
No one has said I'm going to kill you.
Somebody being inconvenient.
No one has said I'm going to kill you to make my point. And I'm going to stick once more to the simple question, what would you do differently?
You would ask people to call up. They would think they believe
What would you do differently?
Because when you think about the world going extinct, there is there's no worse outcome.
What would you do differently, Chloe?
I think that these people would sacrifice others.
Okay, well, you're entitled to believe that. You're perfectly entitled to believe that. What would you do?
That is wrong.
Okay, I've listened to you. What would you do differently?
I honestly, I would need to research climate change. I would need to research everything. I'm not going to give you an answer because I do not know the best scientific facts to do this. I probably wouldn't drive to a protest. I'm ringing you because I'm concerned that you are saying...
The question is, what would you do differently? What would you do differently? What would you do differently?
I would not take someone's life today.
I'm not asking what you wouldn't do. I'm asking what you would do.
That's why I'm calling. I'm sorry, I didn't call to give you advice because I don't have it.
What would you do differently? You're telling them to stop their behaviour. What should they do instead?
Okay, again, I'm not a campaign. I would probably write to Boris Johnson. I would write to everybody I could.
That's very honest of you. Well, you crack on. You crack on with your letters. Seriously. Enclose a stamped addressed envelope. Let me know if you get a reply. In the meantime, I've got no beef with you. You're gonna write, Chloe. I've got no beef. You're going to write to Boris Johnson after you've established whether or not there's an emergency. It's not great advice for people who are 100% certain of the science. Oh, no one can be 100% certain of the science. David Attenborough. Hang on, Chloe. Do you trust David Attenborough?
Sorry?
Do you trust David Attenborough on it, or would you need to do your own research?
I'm not arguing with you about the cause.
Oh no, you are. You are.
No, I'm really not.
Prince William. You sound like you probably hold Prince William in quite high regard, as indeed we all do.
I'm not arguing about the cause.
Okay, but you're just going to write. You're going to write to Boris Johnson instead. Okay.
No, and again, this is typical you.
Oh, now you're talking about me, like you said you weren't going to.
No, I never said that.
Oh, yes, you did. That's the problem with these conversations. Everyone can hear them.
Okay, well then should we go back to your blurb where you say...
No, we'll go back to the question of what you're going to do differently.
What I would do differently as far as protesting goes.
Well,
I wouldn't cause a traffic jam.
You're telling me what you wouldn't do.
I'm telling you what I wouldn't do.
Yes, I want you to tell me what you would do.
I would research it. I would research what needs to be done.
Well, now we're back to David Attenborough.
I would maybe...
Okay, well, don't let me keep you... Don't let me detain you any longer. Seriously, this is really urgent research that needs to be undertaken, and we're both wasting your time on the radio, not to mention everybody listening.
There's a host body, and that host body has to have a certain amount of rights, because at the end of the day, it is that body that carries this entire other body to term. The question is, what is the value of that life, and is it subordinate to the value of its host body? And so then one has to think, to what time does the host body have veto power over this other life?
You realize there are a lot of people who will hear you use phrases like host body and say to you, that's a woman, that's a person. That's not a, that's, you know, you're sort of creating a scenario where you're looking at that not so much as a person, but as a host body.
Well, Andrew's in Halifax. Andrew, what sense?
Oh, good evening, Tom. Well, to be perfectly frank with you, I don't care whether it's legal or not. These people are not refugees, and they're not migrants. They are illegal invaders, and they should be repelled like illegal invaders, and not under specific and limited circumstances, under all circumstances. I am sick of seeing the daily demographic bombardment of this country by people who have no papers. We know nothing of their background, and it's all very well, your gentleman from America giving his usual legal spiel with his dotted T's and, dotted I's and crossed T's and semicolons about their rights. What about our rights? 22
No, he's not talking about their rights. He's talking about the internationally agreed law of the sea.
Yes, and there are plenty of cases where states break law all the time. We are not there. We are not there to accept the world's flotsam and jetsam. We are a small country that is overcrowded.
Give me an example. Give me an example of a state breaking an internationally agreed law.
A state breaking internationally agreed law?
Yeah.
Well, what about when the EU decided to propose extra funds to fight the COVID recovery? That was actually contrary to agreements that they'd made between themselves before. So that's an agreement.
That's not international law.
Sorry?
That's not international law.
No, but international law is a very amorphous term. It really is. All it is a set of reasonably agreed...
the answer is you don't know. You can just say you don't know.
So, I don't know of any specific examples.
Okay, so don't say it then. Don't come on the radio and say, well, break international law all the time.
Well, no.
If you don't know.
No, I haven't come on to talk about international law. I've come on to talk about this daily invasion of people who are possibly put in the lives of people who have been born and have worked here and paid the taxes all their lives, and that the political classes don't seem to give a monkey's about. People were slaughtered in Manchester at the MEN Arena by an asylum seeker. How much longer are we going to import people into this country who potentially could turn out to be our own murderers?
I think, Andrew, that is an astonishing view to take of all of the people who make an asylum claim, which is what we're talking about.
Well, I think it's appalling that people, immigrants who've come to this country to work hard and have had to jump through hoops, have effectively had their efforts lain to waste by this disgusting free-for-all, this freeloading. They come here, they go into hotels, they get 3 square meals a day. There are veterans out on the streets. When are people going to start bothering
Andrew,
about them?
Where your anger should be directed, sir, if I may, I think...
Well, my anger isn't directed at the people who come. I just hold them in contempt. My anger is directed at the liberal masses.
So hang on a sec. Why do you hold them in contempt if you're not angry with them?
Because they shouldn't be here. They've come through countless other perfectly safe countries where they could...
But you just said you don't have a problem with them.
No, I said I hold them in contempt. I don't want them here, any of them. But I don't hate them because they are taking advantage of a system...
Right, so your anger is at the system?
My anger is at the system, and
right,
overall,
okay, so
it's
where
at
your anger should go, sir, if you don't mind me saying, is...
Well, it's at the bleeding...
No, hang on a sec. If it's the case, and it is the case, that the routes to claim asylum into the UK have largely been shut down outside of the UK, and really the best way that people find to claim asylum, really the only way people can make what is a legal asylum claim, a legal right that everybody has to make an asylum claim if they've got the ability to make that claim, is to be in the UK.
Well,
why is that? That's mad. That is basically putting a pot of honey over in the distance and releasing a load of bears.
Well, let me put it another way. This is a small country which is overpopulated. How many more asylum seekers are we supposed to take? The rest of the world... I mean,
we take people who have a legitimate claim of asylum, who have an accepted claim of asylum to come to this country.
There are people who would... If Britain was as crowded as Leicester Square Tube Station on Christmas Eve, they would still want more people to come into this country by whatever means. And people are sick and tired of it.
You're arguing with the wrong people, though. You're not... I agree with you. I don't want open borders. I'm not here to say we need to accept absolutely everybody that makes an asylum claim. They have their claim checked, and if they've got a claim, they can stay, and if they haven't, they've got to go somewhere else. But do you not think it is mad that if we're discussing why it is we seem to be attracting so many people to come and make asylum claims, which is what these people do, whether they're legitimate or not, we've closed down the routes available to them to make those claims outside of the UK?
But that still doesn't negate the fact that people choose to come to the UK because they see us as a soft touch where even if they get their asylum claims rejected, they have absolutely zero chance of ever being kicked out of the country. Because every time there is a chance that they will be kicked out of the country, all your bleeding heart liberal lawyers all gather in and say, their rights are so sacrosanct. Never mind about our rights that have lived and worked and paid taxes here all our lives, the veterans that have gone out and are now sleeping on the streets. As long as they're looked after, that's all they're bothered about. It's an absolute disgrace.
So you hold these people who make this journey in contempt,
yes.
but you don't hate them?
I don't hate them. I hate the people who facilitate them.
So you don't hate them, or you don't hold them in contempt, or you do hold them in contempt?
No, I'll say it again, Tom. I'll make it clear. I hold the people who come here in contempt. I detest those who live in this country, the bleeding heart liberals who facilitate this invasion on a daily and weekly and yearly basis.
What about if those people who come here, a selection, a small number, even a tiny percentage of the people that do come here on the boat to make a claim of asylum are legitimate in doing that? They are fleeing terror, they are fleeing whatever they're fleeing, and they have a legal right to be in this country.
And we have a moral right to be able to question who they are, where they came from, what ideologies they have, and how compatible they are with Western life. Because we already have, quite frankly, a number of minority communities in this country who are utterly alien to the Western way of life and have caused very little agitation since they arrived here.
I don't know where you get the total contempt of people who have a legal right to be in this country from, even if they've arrived here by boat. Andrew, if you don't mind me saying, sir, your anger is searching for a target. And I think you're just sort of slewing this kind of bullets of your anger across the whole range, rather than focusing in on what might actually change to help you feel like this isn't going to be a problem anymore. And one of those things there needs to be more routes to make asylum claims open outside of the UK.
Well, personally, I would close down most asylum routes and I would turn back those who are illegally invading our shores.
Well, you'll get more boats. You'll get more boats, you get more people dying in the channel, you'll get more of it. Andrew, thank you.
William Cody was a scout for the cavalry. What was his nickname?
I got no idea.
Okay, let me help you. Let's see. Think of an animal, a Wild West kind of animal.
Wild West kind of animal.
Yeah.
Horse?
No, try again. What's a nickname for William?
William, Bill.
Right, you're halfway there. William Cody was a scout for the cavalry. What was his nickname?
Billy.
No.
Billy Goat.
No, way too much information. Shorten the word Billy.
Goat.
No, shorten the word Billy. What do the phone companies send you every month or whatever?
Bloody Bill.
Right, you've got half the word. Bill. William Cody was a scout for the cavalry. What was his nickname? Think of an animal. Think of a Wild West animal. Show me a home with a... Show me a home with a... Show me a home with a...
Sell me a home with her.
No, show me a home where the...
With a...
What's that word? When you're naked, what are you in?
Sorry? When you're naked?
Yeah, you're in
the nude.
In the... Yeah, or in the...
Nick?
In the... Another one.
Raw.
In the... Another one. In the... Another one, come on. Big animal. Like a bison.
Hippo.
No, Wild West.
Wild West.
You can eat their wings at the Hog's Breath Cafe.
Hawks?
No.
Cow.
Close.
Bull.
Nearly. Think of a Wild West. What would the Red Indians eat? Show me a home where the... What is that animal? Show me a home where the roam.
With a room?
No, show me a home where the... Something roam.
I give up.
No, you can't give up. You've got to win it. You're so close. It's Somebody Bill.
Somebody Bill.
You've already got Bill. William Cody was a scout for the cavalry. What was his nickname? Is it named after an animal?
I've got to serve a customer now.
A big animal.
A big animal. Elephant.
No, an animal in the Wild West.
$10.
Serving the customers.
I've got a couple of cars out in this driveway.
Somebody Bill.
Bill. I've said goat, haven't I? Billy Goat.
No, it's not. It's not Bill somebody. It's Somebody Bill.
Camel.
Camel Bill is not a famous person. Especially not in the Wild West.
I haven't heard of it. I would have told you the answer, wouldn't I?
Come on, you must have heard of this bloke. He had a little beard. He looked like Colonel Sanders.
Bill.
He had a Wild West show.
Wild West show. What type of show? What show?
A Wild West show.
Any one of them?
No, what? Yeah.
I got a customer here.
Big animal.
Big animal.
Yeah, when you're in the nude, you're in the... A great big animal like a bison. What else is there? Like a bison. Opposite of high.
Meat.
Opposite of high.
What was in a pie? Meat.
Opposite of high.
Opposite of pie?
No, nothing to do with pies. Opposite of high. What's the opposite of the word high?
High, low.
Right, you've got half the word now. Low. Something a low.
No, I'm still stuck
If you're in the nude, you're in the what?
Hang on.
Put the customer on, look, better know it.
This is Graham Mack from 2TO. It is. He wants me to put a customer on.
Hey, how you going there? Hello there.
Hello.
Hello there. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
All right. William Cody was a scout for the cavalry in the Wild West. What was his nickname?
I couldn't tell you.
No, well, it was something Bill. Can you think of a Wild West character? Somebody Bill.
Buffalo Bill.
Yes! At last! What's your name?
Wally Chamberlain.
Oh, well, Wally, tell Phil he's a loser.
All right.
Just tell him he's a loser.
You're a loser.
And Wally, you have won a family pass to go to the Terminators Rodeo next weekend. Congratulations.
Yeah?
Yes.
All right.
Rupert is in Lancaster. I haven't got a great deal of time, Rupert, because I want to play another clip of Brian May before home time, but hopefully you'll have enough to make your point. What do you want to say?
Right, so James, I think the Queen has been hijacked here.
Go on.
I think the Queen supports the statement Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
Like 99.9% of the population.
Yes.
But she doesn't support the Marxist movement.
Oh. So here's the line from Channel 4 News. When asked if the Palace supports the Black Lives Matter movement, the Lord Lieutenant of Greater London replied, the answer is easily yes.
So does the Queen realise that Black Lives Matter movement is a Marxist movement, as declared by the founders and leaders repeatedly?
Yes. I don't know. Are you asking me what's going on inside the Queen's head? Because what you've fallen for is a portrayal of what is essentially a movement built upon a feeling, and you've gone for finding some reasons not to support it. So the answer to your question is no. The Queen is not where you are, mate. And that's what's upset you so much. No, ridiculous. Name me the most prominent three members of the Black Lives Movement leadership in Britain.
Look it up, James.
No, you do it, because you're telling me about them. Name them. Oh, come back. Oh, Rupert! Oh, no! You mean you've been describing a leadership that you can't even identify or name, and then you've ended up on... I told you this was going to upset people. Rupert has hung up the phone, having been asked to name the leaders of the Black Lives Movement that he certainly understands better than Her Majesty the Queen does. And do you know what really annoys me? What really disgusts me? People like that think they're patriotic. It's a disgrace. How dare he malign... What was he doing? Accusing Her Majesty of not being intelligent enough to understand her own decision-making process, not being intelligent enough to decide whether or not she is in support of or not in support of the Black Lives Matter movement. Oh... Bless him. Christine's in Ilford to steer us back to the opening conversation, which was chiefly about the fact that we, or some of us, now will need vaccine passports to go nightclubbing. Christine, what would you like to say?
Hi, yeah. First of all, I'd like to say this is my first time calling, and I now understand why people say that. Because
it's only me.
Truly terrifying.
It's only me. Go on.
But yeah, I mean, my worry... I think it's twofold, really, because
yes.
my worry is the people who can't have the vaccine for whatever reason, medical reasons or whatever, at the moment, yeah, probably they're not going to go in nightclubs. But my worry is that if this is extended to other things, and that's my thin end of the wedge feeling, that once they've got it accepted for nightclubs and large gatherings, then it is very easy to then extend it on to other things.
Like what?
What happened? Well, I'm thinking like holidays or jobs or...
I think that's likely. I mean, certainly medics will be expected to be vaccinated before they can treat people, but I'm not uncomfortable. I'm not really uncomfortable with that. I'm
going to say, I mean, I was in hospital on Monday having an examination thing. I won't say what.
No.
And it didn't occur to me once to think whether any of those people had been vaccinated or not. I felt perfectly safe in that hospital, and it wasn't until afterwards when I heard on the news that they were saying that medical people are going to be compulsorily vaccinated that I thought...
Maybe, it's not definite yet.
It just didn't occur to me, but it didn't occur to me.
But what are you worried about?
I'm worried about, in particular...
A tiny number of people, and I don't mean anything judgmental by the word tiny, but it is a very small number of people. It's quite hard to identify who it is. If you've got immuno disorders or some conditions, then the advice is obviously to consult your doctor. The advice is never, I don't think, definitely don't do it. But there will be people, very vulnerable people, who probably can't take the vaccine.
Well, my niece is 7 years old.
Yes.
She has got a medical condition that means that she regularly ends up in hospital because her lungs fill up with fluid. She doesn't have the ability to cough it up herself, so she regularly goes into hospital. So if she caught something like COVID, it would kill her.
Yes.
And so my sister...
Well, then surely you want to be sure that everyone in the hospital has been vaccinated.
Yeah, but the worry... I mean, that's not what my point was going to be.
Well, that's what my point is, because I think that explodes your last point, doesn't it?
With the vaccine, they were saying on the news the
hang
other
on,
day,
I'm not going to let you just gloss over that, Christine.
Well, this is
no, you can't do that, because you didn't mean that to happen, but it did. Surely you would be crackers if you didn't want every single person in the hospital that your niece goes to, regardless of what happened to you at the weekend, to be able to prove they've been vaccinated.
Except that,
go on.
When you're vaccinated, you are more likely to be able to pass on the Delta variant. That's what they said on the news the other day.
No, they
said the other day.
They did not in the news. No, that's just nonsense, Christine. Absolute nonsense.
I heard it on LBC.
Not in the news, you didn't.
Well, I heard it on LBC.
You didn't hear it in the news, I'm afraid. That is absolutely untrue. I think there's a Reuters article out there that some people ringing in have completely misunderstood, but I categorically can assure you that having the Delta variant does not make you more likely to pass on coronavirus than unvaccinated people.
Okay. Well,
no, that's not even up for debate. I find that very hard to believe. But if it has happened, then I am here to tell you that is absolute cobblers. All right.
Okay.
So we've got two things going on now. The thing you believed when you rang in is cobblers, and your daughter and your niece who has to go to hospital for treatment and who would be catastrophically affected by coronavirus. She needs to be confident that every single person she's going to encounter there, staff-wise, is vaccinated. I'd even argue there's quite a strong argument there for everybody she might encounter as a fellow patient who can be vaccinated should be able to prove that they have been vaccinated.
Yeah.
Why am I making these funny noises? Because this is. You should be thanking me. You should be saying, "Crikey, thank you, James. I was a bit confused and I was a bit misinformed, and now it's really clear, and I feel a lot safer and happier about everything." And I certainly want to make sure that the hospital my niece goes to insists on full vaccination for every member of staff who is patient-facing.
Okay, but you've steered me away from the point I was going to make.
All right, well, I'll steer you back to it now then.
Okay. So the point I was going to make was that if they extend the vaccine passport thing to things like holidays, then my sister will never be able to go on holiday with her kids. She's kept both of her daughters at home since 20th of March last year, so that she can protect them. Because that's the only way she can keep the youngest one safe.
I hear that, and that is a worry, and I don't think that is going to happen. But we are steering clear of slippery slope arguments. But that is a valid concern. The problem is then that utilitarianism kicks in, doesn't it? And protecting absolutely everybody from the virus is prioritised over your sister's holidays. And I don't think it is that tricky to see where the public health issue would lie, even if it's horrible, even if it's horrible for your personal family, for your family.
Yeah. No, I hope you're right. I
usually am, Christine.
But I don't. I do hope so.
There are books.
But I just don't trust this government.
And listen, that's why I hope that it's me. The fact that it's me is helpful to you, because I don't think it's unfair to say that my reasons for not trusting this government are not only myriad and well documented, but an awful lot of them have also come true. To be glib about it, the people queuing up to claim that Northern Ireland wouldn't be a problem post-Brexit, or that labour supply wouldn't be a problem post-Brexit, or that the German car industry wouldn't countenance. We've dropped out of the top 10, or we're about to drop out of the top 10 trading partners for Germany. So, I don't trust this government as far as I can throw them, but I don't think that they're planning some sort of... I don't think they're planning to do anything that isn't built entirely upon the public health provision. There are objections to be held about the fact that a lot of the stuff that needs to be done now wouldn't have needed to be done if they'd handled things better previously, but we live where we are. We are where we are. This is it. We don't get to say, I wish we'd done that differently. Richard's in Watford. Richard, what do you reckon?
Hi, James. I'm not going to go with the thin end of the wedge.
Slippery slope.
My one's more slippery slope. Yeah, slippery slope. I'm going with this is crossing the Rubicon. I think that this could cause distrust, and so distrust with the government and authorities, which could hamper future needs for us to do things for future pandemics. Because we've got to trust that the government is following the science.
Yes.
And we've been trusting them. We've been doing lots of stuff along believing that. This is where I think the science is not as clear-cut as it was before. That the idea behind this is you have a vaccine passport to protect other people.
Yes.
It definitely protects the individual, no question about that. The science, though, is changing, or what we're understanding is changing about how it protects other people. With Delta, the transmission is effectively the same whether you're vaccinated or not.
God, it's not though. It's 50 to 60% less. Where are you getting this from?
No. This is. If you look at the latest
but this just
Imperial
isn't true.
React study. No. 50% is you're 50% less likely to catch it.
Yeah.
When you've got it, you are equal in transmission.
Okay, listen. I'm going to do that thing now, right? I'm going to do that thing and ask you what your qualifications are.
I've read.
No. I've read Cain and Abel, mate. That doesn't mean I'm God. What are your qualifications?
I don't have any.
No, because I'm now looking at virologists, vaccinologists, not the nutters that signed up to the Great Barrington Declaration. I'm looking at the real deal, and they are not saying what you're saying.
Okay. How about...
No. All right? Vaccinated people are less infectious than unvaccinated people. That's not a matter for debate. Where you are getting this stuff, I do not know. But sort yourself... No, stop it. Vaccinated people are less infectious than unvaccinated people. This isn't this is like a debate about whether the moon is made of cheese or not. Here is Professor Button Moon, who believes that it is made. No, not even up there. It's outrageous. I don't know how you got. I don't know how you got on. I really don't. No. Sort yourself out. All right. Go and talk to a doctor. Do not go and read stuff on your Auntie Doris's Facebook page. All right. Seriously, this isn't just your health. This is the health of everybody around you. And you're the reason why we need these blinking passports. You silly sausage. If we didn't have all of this nonsense being disseminated across the stratosphere, then we wouldn't need to be constantly coming up with new ways of dealing with the new problems. Largely, we only have the new problems because of people like you, mate. Sorry.
James is in Northwich. James.
Hi, Tom. Nice to speak to you again. Well, basically, I mean, there should be a processing plant in Cali, in my opinion, and they should apply through a processing plant in Cali, and if they come on a dinghy to this country, they should be sent back to the processing plant in Cali and just say, you can only get into the country through that processing
well, you know
plant
what the French
in Cali.
What the French are going to say to that? Certainly after this, James, they're going to say non.
Exactly. I mean, that's what I mean. In my opinion, I mean, France don't want these people. They just want to dump them on us. The EU want to dump all these people on us. I've always believed that.
Well, I'm not sure they want to do, but you wouldn't think that it would be a good idea for the British government to do it in reverse. If the French were asking for us to put an asylum registration claims office somewhere near Dover, you wouldn't want that here, would you?
Well, I mean, but you have to ask the question: who's caused this problem? And it's the European Union, because these people have come through countless safe countries, haven't they?
But so one of those countries ought to take them.
I mean, but what I'm saying is these people have come through countless safe countries.
So why not us?
Why aren't they making alliance in France?
So Austria say, and Germany says, and France say, well, you take them.
Well, we should agree a certain amount of people each year, and any people above that should have to go through the processing plant in Cali.
How many?
That's what I say, anyway.
14,000 have come on the boat so far.
It's ridiculous, Tom. It can't be sustained. We haven't got the resources.
All right. James, I appreciate it. Thank you. Stephen's in St Albans. Stephen.
Hello, sir.
Sir.
I'm very angry. Very angry. I don't like the way the royals are being treated. Please ask me a question.
Why does it matter to you?
All my life, I have been brought up with the Queen. She's always been there. And for people to start destroying the monarchy, she's the only thing that's ever... Apart from Clint Eastwood, trying to change it to funny, Clint Eastwood and the Queen have always been there.
But
to people to die... I mean, I'm an old soldier, but for people to destroy everything that I believe in.
Stephen, is the royal family, is the monarchy above criticism?
No, they're not. No.
Is it above potential allegations of wrongdoing?
I have a problem with the Queen at the moment myself, because she is a condoner and not a condemner with Prince Andrew, which really gets at me.
Well, Stephen, hang on. There's nothing to condemn because the man is innocent until proven guilty. So we've got to be very careful.
Yeah, but she's not putting him in the saddle to go and to defend himself.
Well, that might be down to his legal team. So we don't know what's going on there. But he is said to be her favourite son.
I know.
But Stephen, what does the Prince Charles stuff? What does that do to your belief in, your trust in the monarchy? Or does it begin and end with the Queen?
It begins and ends with the Queen. I'm glad you said that. It does begin and end with the Queen, absolutely. The others, they don't really have a say in... It's all to do with the Queen and what she says, and that is it.
So what happens, do you think, to people's passion for, belief in the monarchy once Her Majesty goes?
Do you know what? I think the monarchy's over, and I'm so disappointed. The monarchy's over. Finished.
And you say that as a dyed-in-the-wool
I know,
former
I'm an
servant
old
of
soldier. I fought on the Queen's oath, but the monarchy is finished. Unfortunately.
All right. Stephen, appreciate it.
John's in Battersea. John, what would you like to say?
Hi, James.
Hello,
Great show.
Thank you.
You've alluded really to what I was about to say with the last comments, that we shouldn't really be comparing the protesters that are currently protesting with the suffragettes.
Why not?
Because suffragettes were totally excluded from the democratic
No,
process.
they weren't.
They didn't have the vote.
No, they did.
No, they did not have the vote.
George Lansbury resigned his seat so he could fight a by-election on the suffrage question. I think he got sent to jail for making a speech in support of the suffragettes' arson attacks. The suffragettes weren't just women, John.
Well, no, okay, but the majority of
Frederick Pethick Lawrence, I think, was the joint editor of the Votes for Women publication with his wife Emmeline.
Can I turn it into another question?
Yeah, I think you should.
If women had the vote,
No, suffragettes we're talking about, not women.
Yeah, right. I'm talking. Hang about. Are we talking about the same thing here?
You thought all suffragettes were women when you rang in, and I'm pointing out that they weren't, because there were male MPs who were suffragettes.
They did not have any support.
No, you said they weren't engaged in the democratic process, but George Lansbury went to jail for his suffragette views.
Some people who were engaged in the democratic process.
Look, I can see why you thought it was a great point. I really can. Do you want to have a crack from another angle?
Right. If women had the vote, would they have needed to throw themselves in front of horses?
If women had the vote, well, I mean, they might have achieved the vote without throwing themselves in front of horses. Only one woman actually did that. But your point about being engaged in the democratic process, come on, let's not be silly. It's fallen apart ridiculously, and I could have made the same mistake. I could have made the same mistake. You did. I didn't know how many men there were involved in the suffragette movement until I looked it up.
Let's take it to another angle.
I think we should.
Right. I can influence the law that is imposed upon me.
Can you?
I can go to I can, because that's what my vote is about.
You can't really influence it, can you?
When every single one of us does.
So who would you have voted for at the last election?
That's personal to me. But
no, I didn't ask who you did vote for at the last election. I said who could you have put in power at the last election who would have adopted the manifesto of Insulate Britain?
The Green Party, if we all voted for them.
No, I don't know that they even had that in their manifesto, and we didn't vote for them in the same way that the suffragettes or the abolitionists didn't enjoy democratic support until after the direct action. Also, what about apartheid?
There is, again, it's the same argument.
I know.
The same argument I'm trying to put forward.
Yeah.
It's not that it's about the message and
so
how
you're saying you need to
across.
wait until you've got a majority before you can have what you want.
Right. I, for example, would like, I don't know,
ice cream for tea every day.
I'd like to see bees protected. So therefore, I think I'll cherry pick which parts of the law that applies to me and which doesn't.
Yeah.
So I'll plant bombs, but I promise not to hurt people. I just hurt property. I'll damage property.
And if I felt that bees were more important than human beings, then I guess I'd be interested in exploring your position. But I think that 100 human beings are more important than 10 human beings, or 1 million human beings are more important than 100 human beings. This is the argument of the Insulate Britain and the Extinction Rebellion protesters and activists, that they think that the planet is more important than, well, everything, really, and bees aren't.
You see, the point I'm trying to make is not the message. It's not whether the message is important or not.
No.
It's how you deliver it.
Well, I know. That's what we're talking about. So how would you deliver it if you were them?
When I was talking about being disenfranchised, I'm talking about when you have no other option.
Well, that's how they feel.
You cannot.
What other option do they have?
You can influence the ballot box.
But the building is on fire and no one is putting it out.
So what do? Do you spit at the people who occupy the building?
You wait 3 years for an election and then vote to put out the fire, and unfortunately when the engines turn up there's just ashes there, cold ashes.
And do you spit at the people who occupy the building? Tell them that the building's on fire? You can't do that.
Pardon?
What I'm trying to say is they're going about it the wrong way.
I think the point you're missing is that people are denying the urgency of the situation. And that is the problem. So imagine if your bee analogy was as powerful as we probably both hope it had been, and that not protecting bees posed an existential threat to the whole of humanity, then I would support your bomb-laying campaign if it was the only way to get the political leaders to acknowledge the importance of looking after the bees.
And where do we draw the line on that?
Well, there's the problem. I would say, for me, the protection of... They would say, I speak for them, I'd rather speak about them, I don't speak for them. I wouldn't, at this point in proceedings, encourage any activity like you described, bombing campaigns, God forbid, and things like that. But there has, throughout history, most obviously, I suppose, with the ANC, or with the arson attacks that your man, the suffragist, George Lansbury, went to prison because he supported them. There does come a point where the direct action becomes dangerous and violent if the cause is big enough. And that's the question you have to answer. Is the future of the planet a big enough cause?
And who decides that line?
You do.
That threshold?
I'm asking you, John. You tell me, is the future of the planet a big enough cause?
Right, the threshold has to be the law. Full stop.
Of course it doesn't. Otherwise there'd have been no... Then we'd never have got rid of apartheid, because that was the law.
No. Otherwise, if it's not, then it's left to the individual to cherry pick.
Well, then we never would have abolished slavery, because that was legal.
Yeah. Slavery was abolished within a democratic process.
Eventually.
Yeah, by getting the message across.
And how did it start? Outside the democratic process?
Because slaves did not have a democratic franchise to be able to influence what was being done over them, on them.
Even after abolition, they didn't.
Yeah, but it's the same point as well.
There's too many red herrings here, mate. The question is, you tell me where the threshold is, because Nelson Mandela decided where it was, Jesus decided where it was, suffragists decided where it was, abolitionists decided where it was. They didn't think it was wherever the law was already. They decided that it was more important than that. So you tell me, is the future of the planet, the safety of the species, the survival of humanity, does that meet your threshold in the way that the bees did?
Anything can. You know, we've all got...
But I'm only asking you, what do you think is more important than the future of the planet? This is what they would say to you. I'm just being the advocate.
I did start off by saying that the message is correct.
You did start off by saying that there weren't any male suffragettes, actually. But
no, what I'm
splitting hairs.
Right. Let me put it in another way.
Yeah.
If I was completely disenfranchised, if I could not go and influence my MP, if I could not go in and turn around to my fellow electorate, voters, and say, look, we need to do something about this. If I didn't
that's
have
what they
a voice,
are doing.
If I did not
that's
have
exactly
a voice,
what they are doing.
I'll explain myself.
Well, we're running out of time now, and you have had ages, but exactly what they are doing is trying to convince their fellow electors that this is a really urgent and important issue.
This is the problem, isn't it?
Well, so what would be a better message?
They should be doing it at the ballot box. They should be going out onto
What do you think they've been doing for the last 20 years? If David Attenborough can't pull it off, John, what chance have we got? Or you? What chance have you got?
Without breaking the law.
Suffragettes broke the law.
Without breaking the law, they could
Nelson
be going
Mandela
out,
broke the law.
Going out into the... Can I finish without being interrupted?
No, I think you've had your fun. It's coming up to 11 o'clock. You are listening to James O'Brien on LBC. He makes some valid points, but this ludicrous suggestion that we should sit and wait for politicians to come around and do the right thing. I mean, it's progress. In the same way that not long ago people would deny that they had there seems to be a broad consensus that they have got a point. Everybody agrees with the central point. It's just the tactics I've got a problem with. OK, what would you do instead? Well, I'd sit and wait for the politicians to do the right thing. OK, yeah. Well, don't hold your breath. Tell us that things aren't as bad as they currently look, because we'd all like to believe that. But when the Daily Mail writes, the Daily Flipping Mail, the traditional Christmas dinner is at risk, with the number of turkeys available for shoppers set to be down drastically. The Daily Mail, chicken and pork could vanish from supermarket shelves as the energy crisis hits key elements of the supply chain. What happens next? What does it look like? What's the light at the end of the tunnel? And are things as bad as the Daily Mail suggests? Because in many other areas of life, they're usually not. 12:37 is the time. Graham's in Clacton. Graham, what do you reckon?
How do you do, James?
Hello, Graham. What's on your mind?
Well, just a quick one to what you were saying about the stun gun for chickens. It's actually an electric knife that stuns the chickens. So.
Well, they don't need CO2 gas then?
No, they don't, no.
Right.
It's all done with an electric knife.
So, I mean, again, you sort of wonder who's more likely to be correct, the fellow who runs the British Meat Processors Association or you?
Well, I used to kill chickens for a living a long time ago, and it was done with an electric knife.
It might have changed, I suppose, in the interim. But anyway, it doesn't matter. There is going to be a shortage of chickens, unless you know where there is a shed load of them that the bloke who runs Bernard Matthews is currently unaware of.
Well, if I could, James, slightly, if we can split it, because to me, the electric and the gas and the energy supply systems are different.
Yeah, well, okay, except that the electric knives would be different, but electricity often comes from gas-fired power stations.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, in terms of splitting it, in terms of they don't rely on a labour source, right? Yeah, they do to a point, but not, the reason for the gas and the electric thing, the electricity for the start-up was to do with a fire down in Ashby for the power lines that came into the country from France.
Yes, we mentioned this yesterday.
That'll be back up and running.
It's a factor, but again, the people
the gas is because of the Russians and that, the Russians are doing, and stockpiling themselves.
Yeah, but we're paying 4 or 5 times more than other European countries, as you know.
Well, we're at the moment, I wouldn't say war, but we're not getting on with Russia very well, are we, at the moment? But,
well, nor is anyone else, mate.
But then going back to the supply chain, which again...
Just before we carry on, in a sentence, why did you ring in? What is the sort of central point that you want to make? Because we're covering quite a lot of ground and I'm struggling to keep up.
The point I'm trying to make is everyone's panicking about not getting stuffs on the shelves.
No, they're not. Well, I'm not panicking. I'm reporting what the Chief Executive of the Food and Drink Federation, the head of Iceland, the head of the British Meat Processors Association and the owner of Bernard Matthews and the Two Sisters Food Group have said. That's all. I mean, and if there's a reason why we should listen to other people instead of them, I'm all ears. But don't be unkind and accuse people of panicking unduly when they're merely responding to the industry leaders issuing fairly urgent warnings.
But my view is the chain has been broken for the last 2 years because people have been told to stay at home. There has been no goods being produced anywhere. Workers have been paid furlough to stay at home.
This is fresh food. This is fresh food.
I understand.
It's not like there's a 2-year backlog of dead chickens. The food supply chain has coped really rather well during the lockdown.
Supermarkets have made an absolute fortune, and I can see them trying to make even more money out of this by scaremongering everybody, saying, we're not going to get this, we're not going to get that, and the other. And,
right, so you think they're lying, do you, Graham?
I don't think they're lying. I just think this basically they turn the conveyor belt off, and this conveyor belt will take time to get going again. And once it gets going, give it 6 to 8, maybe 12 months. You'll forget the conversations you're having because.
I'm interested in. I mean, to be fair, I hope you're right, obviously, but 6 to 8, maybe 12 months. I mean, we're talking about Christmas today, and you're telling us not to panic, and now you're telling us everything will be all right by next Christmas, which is a reason to panic this Christmas, surely.
Well, I think the CBI and that have said don't panic at the moment because things will get back to normal. It's just a matter of time. You just have to give it a bit of time.
I don't think they have. I think they've said that we're in this for an extremely long haul. I think, and I could be wrong, it was 5 years minimum. But anyway, I digress. So you've rung in to say don't panic, but
don't panic because
things might be all right in a year.
It's going to take time for the conveyor belt to get going again, for everywhere to get restocked. Everything's got to settle down. And we've been locked down, James, in the houses. People have not been allowed to go to work for nearly 2 years.
Graham, you keep coming back to this point that we're facing food shortages that we weren't facing in the middle of the lockdown. Shortages of fresh food. I don't understand the line you're drawing.
Because we had stockpiles back then.
We don't have stockpiles of fresh vegetables and fruit, Graham, or of meat.
No, but
Now, just pause for a minute, because just pause for a minute. I don't understand the point that you think that you're making. You think that you think
taken out of circulation.
No, I know that office workers had to go home, while a lot of factory workers and certainly people in food production had to go to work. But I don't understand why you think. I don't understand the bit I'm missing. Is where did all this food that was stockpiled because no one was working, where did it come from and where was it kept? And how come it didn't go off?
Some of this fresh food that we think is fresh has been stored for months and months, sometimes years, in massive big warehouses, in fridge units.
No, that would be... I mean...
Some of it is.
Well, maybe, but you're talking about... You're giving us reasons not to worry about food shortages, and now... I mean, can you hear yourself?
Yeah.
Right. And you think...
I just don't see a panic.
No, I know you don't, but we're looking for the reasons why, not the what of it. The fresh food that isn't reaching our shops. The fella on the phone a minute ago, his suppliers are telling him that they've run out of X, Y and Z. The fellow with 3 pubs who's going to see 50p a pint on beer because they're simply not getting that. Why are they all misleading me? Why are they all ringing in to tell me stuff that's not true, do you think?
Everybody's jumping on the bandwagon. To me,
that's just a meaningless phrase. Why are all these people ringing in to mislead me with evidence from their own experience, while you're ringing in to tell me not to worry because of slogans?
No, it's not. It's nothing to do with the slogan.
Well, what is the reason not to?
And things are going to take time.
Yeah, I know, but why are they telling me stuff that's not true?
Well, I don't know. Maybe they've just got, it's business interests, money. And I'm thinking about myself, my family, and we're going to be fine. I don't know what the panic is.
Yeah.
But we will be fine. And it's not,
we're not supposed to be fine, are we, Graham? We're supposed to be global Britain. We're supposed to be doing better than we've ever done before. We're supposed to be in these sunlit uplands. We're supposed to have cheaper food and more of it. Boris Johnson said we were going to have cheaper energy prices. What happened to all that, do you think? Because I've got a feeling you voted for it.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
But the thing is, James, the
thing is, Graham, what happened to all those promises?
What's round the corner? What's the next nightmare we're going to have?
We're not going to have nightmares. You voted for sunlit uplands, mate. I'm the one that said there were going to be nightmares. So what happened to all your sunlit uplands? Cheap food, cheap energy, global Britain. What happened to it all?
Well, there was like fires with regards to electric power cables. Russia stopping us having gas and a pandemic. And
why are there no food shortages anywhere else?
There is. It's a global problem. It's a global problem.
Okay. You mind how you go?
You listen to your own news reports and you'll hear yourself that it's a global problem.
There are shortages, but there are nothing like the shortages that we've got. And remember, you voted to make things better.
There will be better.
When do you think that will be again?
Listen, does it, in my lifetime, I'm 58 years old and,
How long are you expecting to live?
Rosy, really.
How long are you expecting to live, roughly?
Well, hopefully till I'm about 80, I reckon.
80, so we've got 22 years. 22 years, give or take, before we get the bonus that you voted for?
Being a truck driver and being expected to work 3 and 4 times longer than I was doing, I'm not sure about that.
That's your fault as well. You voted for that, didn't you?
No.
You knew what you were voting for, though, when you voted for the fact that you now have to work hours that you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy?
No, that's got nothing to do with Brexit. No.
Right, I mean, the disappearance of European Union workers from the United Kingdom. Only 12,000. That's all right then, yeah.
But we was 100,000 short before Brexit.
No, you weren't, mate, because there were never stories. There was a shortage of drivers in many sectors, for example, the NHS most obviously, but there was never a crisis like the one we've got now. Otherwise, Graham, why are you being required to work extra hours now, but you weren't 2 years ago?
Because back then nobody listened. Nobody was listening to what was going on.
You don't need to listen to drive a lorry. Why do you have to do extra hours now, but you didn't 2 years ago if the shortage hasn't changed?
Well, back then they wanted us to... Because all these supermarkets are jumping on now saying, we need more drivers, we need more drivers.
Yeah, but why do they need more drivers, Graham?
Because most of them are parked up in the RDCs waiting to get unloaded.
They need more drivers because there's a shortage of drivers, and there's a shortage of drivers because lots of them have left the country, and lots of them have left the country because of what you voted for.
James, there would be no shortage if half of them was allowed to get out of the RDCs.
All right, Graham. I tell you what, we should put you in charge for a week. We'd be sorted by October.
Oh, well, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, me too. Richard's in Welling Garden City to kick things off. Richard, what would you like to say?
Hello, morning, sir. I understand why they're protesting. The only concern that I've got is that it seems that people that are suffering are basically down as collateral damage. Now, you made a point of, there's 1 million people in a burning house and one person may have been ill or something like that, going to hospital. But I mean, are we talking about sacrifice the few for the many? I mean, I don't really like that.
That is
analogy.
utilitarianism, isn't it, in a nutshell? But I also pointed out that if it was me in the back of that car or someone I love in the back of that ambulance, then I think my pendulum would swing pretty violently in the opposite direction. But this is the example of history, Richard. The few...
What about their stance on what do they talk about in regards to speaking to local authorities and housing associations? And there's loads of people that can afford to insulate their homes.
They've been doing this for 40 or 50 years. Well, exactly. They don't want to because the Green Deal is an absolute dog's dinner. Not only does it leaves the loan...
In driving fancy cars and materialistic stuff. They're not really
the people protesting aren't.
Well, people that can afford to insulate their homes should insulate their homes. Are we talking about people that can't afford to insulate their homes? What are they doing in regards to
They are in the first instance.
Charities and local authorities.
Well, again,
I work for a charity.
No, I hear you, but you've asked the question. I'll answer it if you want. If you want to crack on, that's fine too. But yes, they're seeking to get social housing insulated as quickly as possible because at the moment, although the offer is supposedly there under the Green Deal, there's no compunction to do it. You have to pay back the loan yourself from the money you save on your energy bills. And for homeowners, the debt stays on the property. So if you get it done and then you want to sell your property, the debt is part of the deeds, as it were, part of the survey that you pass on. And obviously, they've spent 30 years going down the avenues you describe. So this works, but it also hurts. Can you think of something that would work that doesn't hurt?
Well, I'd probably think about maybe protesting to the people that actually make the decisions and maybe inconveniencing them a little bit.
You need to get down the mall. They're there every day.
Well,
Extinction Rebellion have been doing their thing now for 2 or 3 years, and then it hasn't worked. So something that would work, something that would land better than this.
Yeah, I'm just not comfortable with.
No, none of us are comfortable with it. But what would work better?
Yeah, I'm fine.
All right, I don't know if you should be on the phone. I hope you're not stopping up traffic, because that would be really awful, mate. I could find at least 1,000 people at the drop of a hat. I'd be prepared to castigate you in the strongest of terms. Graham's in Boreham Wood. Graham, what would you like to say?
Well, I don't understand why these people don't follow the democratic process. We have elections and political parties.
I've covered this. I appreciate my monologue was longer than usual, but it's the same reason that the abolitionists didn't, and the suffragettes didn't, and even the people that campaigned against sending children up chimneys didn't.
Well, the history of these campaigns is very mixed. I mean, look at CND.
I don't know. Those three are pretty good.
They marched for years and years and years.
Let's focus on the three I just chose. Let's focus on the three I just chose. CND, one could argue, didn't employ the tactics that would have been as effective as their supporters might have liked. So let's look at the ones that I just chose. They ignored the democratic process to get slavery abolished. In the first instance, the democratic process caught up with them, to stop sending children up chimneys and to win the votes for women.
Well, I hear all of that, but we still have a value in our civic way of life, of Parliament.
No, I've answered your question. You said, why are they ignoring the democratic process? And I've told you.
That's because their argument, they don't have popular support, and they're being used.
Nor did the abolitionists, nor did the suffragettes, and nor did the anti-children up chimneys brigade.
Well, it seems to me these people are being used as useful idiots by other people.
That's a catchphrase. That's a catchphrase you had prepared before you came on the show, and now you've made a point and it's been addressed. You can't then revert to the pithy little catchphrase that doesn't make any sense. They're not useful idiots. They are powerful advocates for an incredibly important cause who you rightly identify as not yet enjoying mass support because they're not properly represented in the democratic process. So what would you do differently?
I would find people who will evoke public sympathy.
Well, they are evoking some public sympathy, just not yours.
I don't hear any voices from the public at large saying that this is a good idea.
Well, you must open your ears. Where do you think they might find these people? Who would be a better advocate? Because David Attenborough, who I think we probably could all agree is a very admirable individual, he completely agrees with their analysis of the facts and completely shares their fear about what's happening, but has failed utterly to land anything like the impact in this area that they've landed in the last 8 days. So if David Attenborough can't do it, who do you think might be up to the job, Graham?
I don't think anyone can do it. It's up to parliamentarians to deal with it.
Well, we've just established that they're not going to deal with it, and they're not elected to do it.
But it will happen, because as we all agree, it's an inevitable thing that's happening. We all know about climate change. Nobody says it doesn't exist.
Well, they do. It's not that long ago. The Daily Telegraph was full of people claiming it doesn't exist, and they're not hard to find anymore. So they need to just be quiet and wait for the politicians to get on with it.
I think they need to encourage the politicians through the political process to solve the problem.
Which they've done. So now they're doing...
Otherwise, why have a political system at all? It'd just be mob rule.
It wouldn't be mob rule because, as I've pointed out, the suffragettes, the abolitionists, and even the people opposed to sending children up chimneys all took direct action in order to essentially focus the attention, if you like, of politicians upon the urgency of the cause. So the question, you can't answer this question of how do you focus their attention on the cause by saying you have to focus their attention on the cause, Graham. We both understand that. So how do you grab their attention and make it urgent for the politicians?
I think the politicians are aware and are probably doing the best that they can. You can't change the world overnight.
They're clearly not doing the best that they can, are they?
You're not going to change the world overnight.
Well, you're not going to change the world overnight, Graham, but you can change it a bit overnight. So I'll ask you again, how are you going to focus their attention on the urgency of the issue? Because the politicians that you're talking about, Boris Johnson himself says today, we've got to stop paying mere lip service. So Boris Johnson disagrees with you. He's the Prime Minister of this country, and he doesn't think the politicians are doing enough. So how do you focus their attention on the urgency of the issue?
The mere fact that he's making those statements in New York to the rest of the world, I think, indicates that the politicians are aware, and to say they're not aware is not true.
Nobody's saying they're not aware. Everybody's saying they are not doing enough, and Boris Johnson is actually agreeing with that.
Well, then the ballot box is the answer to that.
Right, OK. 10:32 is the time. So there you go, lads. Stop protesting. Stop throwing yourself under the king's horse at the Derby. Stop calling for votes for women. Stop calling for slavery to be abolished. And just wait for Parliament, which is, of course, at the moment, largely populated by people who are a little bit more interested in sustaining the status quo than doing anything to upset the apple cart, to come around to your point of view. A very powerful paean from Graham there in opposition to all forms of peaceful public protest, which is, of course, you want to go tinfoil hat on this, exactly what the vested interests throughout history would have wanted. Down with protest, up with politicians. It's a view, but it's not mine. John's in Muswell Hill. John, what would you like to say?
Hi, James. I'm struggling to understand what's wrong with the system that actually elected Keir Starmer, who the Parliamentary Labour Party
OK, I'll tell you again. It can allow the Labour Party in the Parliament to be led by somebody who not a single Labour MP voted for.
Well, I mean, and you... Well,
do you understand now, John?
No, wait a minute, hold on.
Well, I want to be clear you understand before we continue. You say you didn't understand what the problem was. The problem with the current system is it can see the Labour Party in Parliament standing up with every Tory on the other side of the House, knowing that this woman in front of them or this man in front of them doesn't enjoy the support of a single person on the Labour benches. Now, tell me how that's not a problem.
Well, people that supported Jeremy Corbyn...
No, let's not go there. Just tell me how that's not a problem.
Well, I think it's undemocratic. I think I pay my subs as a Labour member.
Yeah.
And I feel I should have,
That's fine. Your feelings are fascinating, but you do understand why it's a problem.
Hold on, let me just explain. You asked me a question.
No, I didn't. I didn't. You came on and said you didn't understand what we were talking about. So I've told you. I want to be clear that you understand why it is a problem.
I don't agree with it.
Right, so you think it's fine for the Labour leader to stand up with the support of absolutely nobody standing behind him?
Well, that's not true, because...
but that's what the system can... John, that's what the system can deliver, and we're addressing your failure to understand the problem.
Democracy.
Yes, so you are comfortable with a system that allows a Labour leader to stand up in the House of Commons with everybody in the building knowing that he didn't get a single vote off a Labour MP. Except himself. He probably would have voted for...
But that's not true.
Right,
You're being disingenuous.
No, I'm not. That is what the system... That is what... OK, John, I'll try again for the final time. We are talking about a system. We're not talking about a leadership election. We're not talking about a specific leader. We're not talking about Jeremy Corbyn. We're not talking about Keir Starmer. And we're certainly not talking about Diane Abbott. We're talking about a decision to change a system. And part of the reasoning behind that decision is that the system can currently deliver a leader in the Labour Party, in the House of Commons, despite not a single Labour MP having voted for him.
Well,
and you're
democracy.
in favour of that.
That's democracy.
Fine, mate. That's fine. You're in favour of it.
Sometimes...
Just say you're in favour of it. So tell me why it's a good idea, then.
I'll tell you why it's a good idea, because it's democratic.
Yes, well, you can keep repeating the word democracy or the word democratic. There's someone over there. There's someone over there who hates the Labour Party. There's someone over there whose every waking hour is dedicated to keeping the Labour Party out of power, and he gets a vote. He gets the same vote that you get in this system. So explain to me why that's a good idea.
It's democratic. It's democracy.
You're just going to keep saying it's democratic. So you get a vote in the Tory leadership election, do you?
No, I don't want to vote in the Tory leadership election. It's got nothing to do with me.
Good grief, John. There's a Tory over there who gets a vote in the Labour leadership election that is worth the same as every Labour MP's. It's worth the same as whoever your political hero is.
I believe that every Labour member,
yes,
whether they're an MP or whether they're just a Labour member who's knocking on doors,
yes, or someone who's not
trying to get people like Keir Starmer elected,
yes, John,
have got an equal right in the say of who leads their party.
And the price you pay, for that. No, please listen. The price you pay for that belief is offering an equal vote to people who don't want Labour ever to win an election. The price you pay for that.
I paid,
no, John, you must. Come on, mate. You can't come on the radio and say you don't understand something and then keep proving it.
The price I paid is getting a leader in the last election that I didn't like and I didn't vote for. But I'm still a Labour member.
Yes.
I still go knocking on doors to get him elected.
Fine. And the person over the road who has joined the Labour Party with the direct desire to keep Labour out of power?
How many people did that? Do you know how many people did that?
That's why you have a system that minimises the power that they can influence.
How many people did that?
I don't know, John, but the system allows them to, and it gives them the same. John.
Yeah.
You've just delivered the Conservative Party the biggest majority it's practically ever had. You've just inflicted the worst Labour leader upon the party that we've seen in 100 years. You've just consigned...
He didn't do too bad in 2017.
Because he borrowed the votes of Conservative Remainers and then chucked them all in the bin from 100 miles high.
Look, I was a Labour Remainer, but I didn't like the way that Europe treated Greece and Cyprus, for instance, but I have to accept that was the result.
Right, you are. Well, go and look at the polling in Greece, John, and get back to me.
We'll look at the polling in the Labour Party
No,
now.
John, go and look at... You can't keep doing this, John. You can't keep saying, let's talk about oranges, and I say, OK, I know quite a lot about oranges, and you say, oh, well, let's talk about apples then, and I say, oh, do you know what, John, I know a little bit more about apples than you do, and you say, well, let's talk about cherries then, and I say, well, do you really understand what it is that you want to say about cherries? And you say, no, I don't understand the point about cherries. So I explain the point about cherries, and you say, let's talk about bloody gooseberries, John. And that's the problem, mate, is that you want a system that allows Tom, Dick and Harriet to have the same say over who leads the Labour Party into the next general election as the flipping cabinet. And you can keep saying that's democracy, that's democracy, that's democracy, and you'll keep losing.
And when Kermit the Frog sang, "It's not easy being green." Do you remember that one? I want you to know that he was wrong. He was wrong. It is easy. It's not only easy, it's lucrative and it's right to be green. Although he was also unnecessarily rude to Miss Piggy, I thought, Kermit the Frog.
Sam in Whitechapel. Sam, good morning.
Yeah, hi. Good morning, Nick. I completely disagree with the last caller. The onus is 100% on the woman to ensure her own safety.
What?
Because at the best of times, they are only half-dressed.
Sam. This is so antediluvian. If a woman desires, I was going to say on a hot day, whatever the weather, if she wants to walk down in a fairly short T-shirt and a pair of shorts, she should be entitled to do so. Men are not such uncontrollable beasts that we're allowed to act like a pack of wolves, Sam.
We are told that we are, Nick, but
we're not.
The point is, when there's a spate of murders, she should ensure that she's dressed in a way that she's not going to attract attention
this is
from
be
these
interesting.
people.
What sort of dress should she be wearing, Sam?
Well, a full-length dress up to the knee. Mini skirts are not the order of the day. Can you imagine us men walking in?
Have you got a? Do you have a wife or a partner in your life or daughters? Do you have anything like that?
Yes.
And your wife would agree.
Ask them. Look, we men are not allowed to wear mini skirts or anything revealing.
Yes, you are.
We'd be taken to jail.
No, you can wear a mini skirt if you want to. And you can wear and there was a time when men wore very short shorts. A woman should be entitled, as long as she's not wearing a T-shirt with some foul slogan, a woman should be entitled to wear what she wants, where she wants, how she wants, when she wants.
Not when there's a spate of murders around.
No, we're never going to agree. I'm not even going to say I respect your view because I don't. You're wholly and utterly wrong. I'm grateful for your call, Sam, but there's just going to be no accord with us on that. So let's just move to each other's respective corners and we'll talk again soon. Sam, please reflect on your views for the love of God. We're living in England. No, we're not. We're living in Britain. If a young woman wants to go around, wherever it might be, I mean, it might not be advisable at certain times because of the weather, but if she wants to go around in shorts and a T-shirt, let her do it, surely. Wow. It's like the 50s.
Right, here's your next question, because you're told that. Which author produced the bestseller Mein Kampf? Mein Kampf.
Is it German?
Yes.
Is it? No, I've lost it. It's the tip of your tongue.
It was the famous...
I'm saluting it. No, it's not.
No. He wrote Mein Kampf.
Mein Kampf?
Yes.
Mein Kampf?
Mein Kampf. A German author.
German author?
He wrote Mein Kampf.
No, it's gone. Just give us a clue.
It's a ball which you drive off a tee. What kind of a ball do you hit with a golf club? That should make it easier for him.
That makes him easier, Bill, yeah.
What?
What kind of one?
Yes.
Golf ball?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what kind of a ball is it?
Small.
No. What kind of a ball was your answer then? Right?
Give him a clue, Bill.
Oh, no. What kind of a ball is it you hit with a golf club?
What kind of ball?
Yeah, you just told me the answer.
Golf ball?
Yes, knock the ball off, and what have you got?
Golf.
No, we've got an ad as well.
Eh?
Ah.
Golf R?
No, the other way round.
Golf.
Adolf, yes.
Is it?
First name?
Adolf.
Adolf, yes.
Rolf.
Adolf.
Adolf, yeah.
Yes. So who is it who wrote Mein Kampf?
Adolf.
Adolf.
Golf. That's right, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah?
Adolf is the first name, the second name, first syllable.
He's not that well known, Bill.
No.
Give him a chance.
Sorry.
I've got the first one.
Adolf. First syllable of the second name. If a song sells thousands of copies, it's known as a smash.
Hit.
Yes. First syllable, hit.
Hit, yeah.
Yes. Second syllable of the second name.
Yeah?
Don't make it too easy, Bill. No.
Adolf, yeah.
Yeah, Adolf hit. And what?
Hitman.
No, it's the last syllable is where an animal lives. If you say, we'll have to get the animal out of its...
hide.
No, rhymes with hair. You track an animal down to its... Rhymes with hair.
Hair?
Yeah, rhymes with hair. You track the animal down to its...
Hide.
No, it rhymes with hair.
Hair? What the hell?
Rhymes with hair, yes. Hair, rhymes with hair.
What rhymes with her then?
Sorry?
What rhymes with her?
Try a few. Asking you.
I can't think of that. Hair. Hair.
No. Hair?
Hair?
Yes, what rhymes with hair?
Well, there's a bear for the start, Bill.
Yeah, there's bear.
Hair bear?
No, what rhymes with it?
What, bear?
No, hair.
Oh, hair?
Yes.
Hold on.
You got Adolf hit.
He's being told it. Go on, just know.
She doesn't know what rhymes with hair.
Hair?
Well, where does an animal live?
Which one?
Any animal. You track it down to where it lives. You say, I've tracked it.
So it must be... Do you track it down?
Does an animal have a lair? Do you track an animal down to its lair?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
So put that on the end of what the smash thing was, and it gives you...
Adolf.
Hit. Hit, and then where the animal lived.
Hit her.
No. Yes.
He's got it.
Hitler. Yes, Adolf Hitler. That's right, he was an author.
Was he?
Yes, he wrote Mein Kampf.
I know he's a moron.